Hello everyone, it's 8 o'clock, it's Monday on the Pathlight Thrive Hive, so that means it's special guest time. And this evening we have Karen Higgins as our special guest, who's going to be talking about how she has recovered from an abusive relationship and found meaning and purpose in her life through a really inspirational journey of recovery. So I'm hoping that at least one, if not more people, will find something useful, interesting, inspiring from this evening's talk. Certainly I find it a really inspiring story. So it's very, very courageous, I think, of Karen to share this with us. And if you have any questions or comments as we go along, then as usual, just pop them in the comments box down below. If you wanted to know who you are, you can just type your name first. Otherwise, we don't know who you are, unless you've been to this special link here, streamyard.com/Facebook, because StreamYard, the software I use, needs to have your permission to share your name and also your little photo, which we can make come up if you wish. No pressure. So, as usual, I am going to invite you to share the group with your friends. If you feel that you've got some people you know who would benefit from what goes on here, then please do invite them along. The more in the Thrive Hive, the merrier. It's been good to see quite a few new people joining recently and offering something to the community as well. So yeah, it's great that a lot of new people coming in have got some skills or knowledge or experience, and they're happy to share that with us so we can all learn and grow and be inspired by their stories. So yeah, if you've got something that you'd like to share, whether it's your own personal mental health journey, or if it is some knowledge, skill around holistic well-being or psychotherapy or personal development, whatever it is, if you think it might be useful, then do just give me a shout, drop me a line, and we can have a chat about it. No pressure. Okay, and the final thing is, if you are enjoying the Hive and finding some benefit from it, perhaps you'd like to subscribe for just £7 a month, cheaper than Netflix, and you know, it's quality content as well. So inspiring guests twice per week, plus Man Tuesday, and we've got Jaffa's new session coming up, Jaffa and Steve, on Fridays, which is called Tools for Living Your Life, NLP stuff. So if you didn't catch Jaffa a few weeks ago, he was a guest talking about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and how that can help us to change our relationships and achieve our goals and see ourselves differently. Really useful tips. So he's going to be here from 10:30 every Friday with his buddy Steve, and they're going to be offering some tools for living your life. We've also got the book club still going on Saturdays, and we've got Sundays free at the minute. So if anyone wants to offer something on a Sunday, you're very welcome to do so. Again, just drop me a shout. So yeah, you can become a member, £7 a month for all that. It's just a bargain, isn't it? Or you can donate £3 anytime you fancy. If you've enjoyed a session, for example, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/thrivehive if you want to subscribe, or just do a £3 coffee jobby. So Mandy's here. Good evening, Mandy. Good to see you. And a good evening, everyone, with a wave from Facebook user. I'm not sure who that is, but hello anyway. So yeah, like I say, drop us some comments or questions as we go through, and I shall bring Karen into the studio now. So welcome to the Thrive Hive, Karen.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, all right. Bit nervous.
Of course, yes. Very, very natural. Hopefully we can make you feel at ease in this lovely, safe community. And perhaps a nice way to begin is to just give us a bit of an introduction about yourself, if you would, please.
Yeah, I am studying currently to be a counsellor. I've just finished my level 3 and starting a foundation degree in counselling in September. Absolutely loving all aspects of psychotherapy and psychology, and can't get enough of it. And studying astrology as well. That's been a passion for a long, long time, probably since I was in my late teenage years. But just picked that up again, well, over the last couple of years. And other than that, I love walking my dogs.
Oh, 2 dogs?
I've got 2 dogs.
Yes.
And no children, so dogs are absolutely fabulous. So I love nothing more than walking the dogs up on the fells.
Nice. And it can be quite a nice release, escape, mindfulness around walking in nature as well. Do you find that?
Oh yeah, massively. I would say it's I'm really lucky with where I live. Got great forested areas just on the doorstep, so I love watching the dogs have fun and play and run around, and just usually we walk for about 2 hours a day. Just have a climb up in, and it's just absolutely amazing woodland. Yeah,
Lovely.
it's great to be in nature.
Yeah, great. So you've kind of covered perhaps already what you love. You love learning. You love astrology. You're well into counselling, psychotherapy, and dogs and walking and nature. Is there anything else that you're really passionate about, or things that make you come alive?
YouTube. I can get addicted to a bit of YouTube learning. No, I was a runner. Not ran regularly now, but running was a massive part of my life for about 9 years. And slowly kind of getting back into it, but can absolutely say that running is a form of meditation, and it's super if anybody fancies on joining Paul on a run.
Brilliant. Yes, I can second that, definitely. Yes, it's John from Denmark. Good evening. Good to have you with us. So my next standard question, Karen, is how has this whole pandemic situation been for you?
Yeah, I think in many ways it's probably had a lesser impact on me than for some people, because I worked from home anyway. So it's not changed my daily structure at all in that way. I think the hardest thing has been living alone. Thankfully, I've kind of got the dogs, but it's not like having human contact. So I've missed hugs and touch more than anything. But yeah, in many ways, it's been a time of contemplation. It makes you think about the bigger picture, how it's impacted the world, and economics, things like that. But overall, it's not impacted me as hard as it has others.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for that. So it sounds like a kind of mixed experience, and again, I can totally resonate with what you said there. And touch is really important. And my local massage therapist opened up today, so I'm really looking forward to having my first massage for about 6 months tomorrow. So that'll be good. Okay, so thank you for introducing yourself and answering those standard questions. So I suppose getting into the meat of today's topic, it's I suppose we've titled it finding meaning after recovering from an abusive relationship. So I'm just going to hand over to you, if I may, Karen, and just introduce it however you see fit.
Yeah, I think we're going to do a few sessions after tonight, which I'll go into a little bit more about different paths and different avenues in which I've found more meaning and purpose in life. So I thought I would start off just talking a little bit about how I ended up discovering that I was in what would be considered a relationship of hidden abuse, and for the length of time that it lasted, which was 20 years. And just to say that I don't hold any blame. It's not about holding a card up of blaming anybody or blaming him. That doesn't mean that I condone his behaviour towards me. It just means that I've reached a point of real understanding, and certainly the role in which I played in the relationship, and how I enabled the relationship to continue, really, when there were a lot of red flags present when I look back in hindsight. So I think it's very difficult for some people to understand. You kind of say, oh, I've realised I've been abused, and they kind of go, but you were together for 20 years. That can't possibly be an abusive relationship, because I think people think of abuse in terms of domestic abuse a lot of the time, or that you must have been aware of the abuse. And in my case, I can honestly say I actually wasn't aware that I was being abused throughout the marriage. It was very, very subtle, and it was very hidden. And so I'll try and explain a little bit about how that worked. I was only 25 when I met him, very vulnerable. I would say probably quite fragile in terms of my character, and somebody that was maybe looking for a Prince Charming, you know, a powerful man to come along and save me and protect me and look after me. So when I first met Tim, he's very, very charming, really charismatic, classic salesman, whisked me off my feet, took me to 3 European cities within the first year I met him. Paris, Athens, and the relationship was exciting. I would say intense, and it went at a very, very fast pace. So it was kind of a feeling of not being able to believe my luck. He was very well educated, went to a private boarding school. So yeah, it was kind of like this amazing Prince Charming had arrived.
Which you said is kind of what you were looking for. You wanted to be swept off your feet, and it sounds like that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely. I just couldn't believe my luck. I was absolutely bowled over by him. Just thought he was amazing. And so it went very, very quickly. Within 12 months, he'd asked me to move in with him, which meant me moving. It meant me relocating job, and it also meant me leaving family and friends behind to move 2 hours north. But I'd just been swept off my feet, so I decided it was the right thing to do. He was quite instrumental in me relocating with work. When I look back, he actually met my regional manager, and I look back at that meeting now and can see that he absolutely swooned her as well. And before I knew it, you know, later on that evening, it was, you've got the job. And so that was me. I remember it was probably the night after I moved in. He didn't do anything to help me move in. So I kind of just literally drove up there with all my stuff, and that was me feeling really excited that I couldn't believe this guy had fallen in love with me. And I think it was the night after I moved in, he said, by the way, I'm going out tomorrow night. And I just said, oh, okay, am I invited? No, I go out with the boys on a Friday night. Don't think that just because you've moved in, anything's going to change. Like, oh, okay. And again, I kind of, you know, pondered that. Well, maybe he's got a point. You know, I've only just moved in. If he goes out with the boys every Friday night, but that didn't. When I kind of look back now, I know that didn't make any sense, because he'd always driven down to see me on a Friday night, and he had done for the 12 months. But of course, by this point, I'd relocated with work, and I'd left my family, and didn't want to turn around and say, well, I've made a mistake. But I don't even think I thought about it at that point anyway. So I would say elements of control entered the relationship quite early on. If he would drink, so I didn't really realise till I moved in that he drank a bottle of wine every night. At weekend, he would have too much to drink, and he would get quite, I suppose, aggressive, partially aggressive. He wanted attention. So even if I was always in work on a Saturday morning, he would go out, come in at say 2 or 3 in the morning. He wouldn't think anything about waking me up, even if I had work the next day. It was kind of a case of give me attention and give me attention now. There would be, I suppose, some what I now know is probably negative and positive reinforcement. So he would say something negative or critical to me, and then if I would get quite upset about it, he would say, "Oh, you just can't take criticism." And then when he'd maybe done that for a little bit, and he realised that I was starting to waver a bit or ask questions, he would do something that was really positive. So buy me a special gift or take me out to dinner or something like that. So I was in constant dissonance, really. There was kind of this control and sometimes slightly aggressive, powerful behaviour. But then it would be very, very much reinforced with gifts or taking me out for dinner, and again, being very, very charming. I think when I look back, a lot of the red flags were there, but I just I couldn't add them up. I couldn't see the truth of who he was. I just couldn't see through the facade. All I could see was the charm and the glamour, the excitement and the intensity. There was a lot of intensity in the relationship, but there was a lot of power imbalance as well. So it felt like he was, I think because he was very well educated and he'd gone to a private boarding school, it would feel a bit like he was my teacher. But at the same time, there was this other side of it that made me feel like I was looking after a teenage son. So it was quite confusing. He was quite authoritative, definitely had the power in the relationship. He would tease me with money. So we maybe be somewhere for a weekend and he would say, "Oh, that's a really lovely leather jacket," for example. But then he'd say, "Oh, it's a lot of money. Let's think about it overnight. And if it's still there the next morning, we'll buy it for you." And I'd be like, "But I really like it." And he would make me wait a day. So there was kind of always that control regarding money. And then I suppose as I grew, I recognised more and more that things were not quite as they should be. And I joined a running club and got quite a bit of confidence and started to really question things. But at the same time, I just suppressed a lot of what was going on because I couldn't make sense of he gaslighted me a lot. So I would see something or think I'd heard something and I would say, "But you just said," and "No, I didn't. I didn't say that." I said, "Well, you did, I heard you." No, Karen, I didn't say that. And I think eventually, after years and years of somebody kind of doing that to you, you lose faith in your own intuition. You forget how to believe and trust yourself. So even then, when I started asking myself questions about the relationship, I would be, "No, that can't be right. It's he wouldn't do that." And if I approached something, he would very charmingly say, "I'd never do that to you, honey bun. You're absolutely mad. That's a mad thought." And I'd be like, yeah, that's completely mad. There's no way he was chatting up such and such a body in the room next door to me, but in actual fact, I now know he was.
So it's all these kind of mixed messages, isn't it? With the the power dynamics, the buying you gifts, and then the putting you down, taking away your confidence, undermining you. It's all very manipulative, like you say, narcissistic behavior, isn't it?
Very, very manipulative. And I had no idea of manipulation techniques or psychological techniques. And it was, yeah, very much positive stroke negative reinforcement, and very, very clever manipulation. And a very effective use of control. So he knew exactly when to come back with something positive. He would also do things to create emotional chaos. So he would make me jealous deliberately by actually telling me something that, you know, somebody had run their finger down his back, for example. And I'd say, well, really? Why would you tell me that? Well, I just want to be completely honest with you, you know, and, you know, it's about honesty in the relationship. And I couldn't see he was deliberately doing things to induce jealousy. So yeah, there was definitely a feeling of never feeling like I could completely trust him. There was always an underlying feeling there of that. But eventually I convinced myself that he was just alcohol dependent. And I would say that narcissistic personality disorders definitely involve some form of addiction, either past or present, but there was definitely alcohol dependency there. So yeah, and the more I tried to kind of say no, the more he would kind of control me. So when I eventually left, he basically, I now know it's a process called love bombing, but he took me to therapy for 12 months and wined and dined me in an amazing restaurant every weekend. But again, I look back and I can see that he never really revealed anything about how he was actually really feeling. Kind of ask him how he would feel, and he would say, I'm depressed, but he would never really be able to give genuine emotion away. But again, that was very confusing because at the same time, he could show a really high level of vulnerability. So there was a part of him that needed looking after as well. A part of him that needed a lot of admiration and reinforcement of his own power. He needed me to admire him and praise him and tell him he was the best thing. And at the same time, he also had a real sense of entitlement. So if we went somewhere regularly, he wanted to be recognised, or I'll just park the car here. There was definitely a sense of entitlement, living by his own rules, that sort of thing.
So it's a kind of, again, this mixture of a superiority complex and an inferiority complex.
Absolutely.
And, the talk that Jackie Bennis did a few weeks ago about living with a narcissist, which I know you saw that one, Karen. She said that narcissists generally have a very low sense of self-esteem. There's, you know, it's like, this facade of power and being very charming and all that stuff, and coming across as very confident, but actually underneath it, there's a really vulnerable, injured child.
Character, very, very, and you would get glimpses of that. So, you know, he would have a lot to drink, and all of a sudden he would go, "You do love me, don't you?" It was like a really fragile young child that was really asking, you know, his mum, "Do you love me?" And of course, I had a lot of empathy for him. and loved him. I loved him deeply, and I had in my mind somebody as vulnerable as that would never hurt me. You know, all I could kind of see was this real vulnerability that came across as very powerful and very confident and very authoritative. But because of that vulnerability, I never dreamed for 1 second that this would be somebody that would be deliberately hurting me. So eventually I started yoga. And I think yoga was possibly part of the process. I think that the running was the first start of it when I kind of left, but I still couldn't quite get the confidence to leave. But somehow through the yoga and maybe just really connecting with that breath work and the body, I really started to trust in myself more and trust in my emotions and my feelings more. And I started to see these red flags for what they were. And I'd wrote in my diary, there's something that I can't put my finger on. I don't know what it is, but there's something not quite right. And I can't express it. I can't explain it, but there's something hidden. And I actually used those words. So eventually, lots of different circumstances got in the way of me dealing with it. My mum became ill, and then I was looking after my niece every weekend. And then all of a sudden, the path cleared, and there was like a bubbling sensation in my stomach, and it just wouldn't go away. And I just said to him every day for 3 weeks, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. Something's wrong. Something is wrong. And I'd started to gather little bits of information. And I suppose I pushed him into a corner that he just could not get out of. And he ended up sending me an email confessing to, I said, I don't believe you've always been faithful. But because they live in a slightly delusional world and can't quite see the real reality of things, I think he thought that he would get away with it. But I think there was also part of him wanted to hurt me for pushing him into this corner. So he sent me an email and confessed to about 10 incidents of infidelity over the years. And when I read the email, it was just like a light bulb went off. In fact, it wasn't like one light bulb went off. It was like an auditorium went off. And all of a sudden, I just realised it was like a veil was lifted, literally at the blink of an eye, just lifted. And I could see everything. I could see every red flag. I could see every incident. I could see so many times I'd been manipulated, and really my intuition had been right all along. And it was just, and I just collapsed. My whole world fell apart. Everything.
It sounds like a really key, powerful moment, Karen, and the word that's coming to me is trust. And you mentioned it earlier on, that earlier in your relationship, there was this nagging feeling that you couldn't quite trust him, but you didn't know why.
Yeah.
And then with this moment with the email, and those 3 weeks where you're saying, I don't trust you. I'm not sure why, but I just don't trust you. You had this feeling in your stomach, the bubbles, and it seems like on some level you knew already, but you weren't trusting yourself because he was so skilled at manipulating and hoodwinking and all that. He made you not trust yourself. Although on some level you kind of knew.
But on some level, yes, I knew. But I don't think it was until I'd reached a point of, I think there's always a right time for us, and for some reason it had to come with a certain amount of growth, which I think was the running club and getting older and the yoga and listening to myself, and some switch kind of clicked and I started to pay more attention, to little sets of behaviour, and realised that his actions didn't match his words. And I think that was when, and then I was okay. And I just started to listen a lot more closely. And it was my body that told me more than my mind. It was my emotional body that really told me that something was really wrong, and that I knew. But I don't think I knew until I didn't know here. I knew here before I knew here.
Yeah, the body always knows, doesn't it? And it always, yeah.
So, and I would say it was probably a full collapse. Everything that I had believed the world to be, everything that I'd believed my marriage to be, everything that I believed myself to be, had been false and had been a lie. And I just had a complete and utter breakdown. I couldn't function for 3 weeks minimum. I just literally, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I just sat smoking at a kitchen table. But knew there had to be a way through, and that way through for me was knowledge. So I had to find out what had happened. I've never been a drinker, so there was no real, that wasn't an option, kind of just drink. I had to do something to understand what had happened to me, what could possibly make any intimate partner do this to their intimate partner in such a clever way. So I went on Amazon, and I would say in 4 weeks I spent about £200 on books. Went on the internet, just started Googling different types of, manipulation, abuse, and it very quickly came up with narcissistic abuse. I found, and prior to this, I actually had no knowledge of narcissistic abuse at all, none whatsoever. If somebody had actually described narcissistic personality disorder, I had no idea what it was. And then I started to understand, and started to understand why he had done the things he'd done, and started to understand, I think one of the best phrases was hurt people. And that just, and then I started to put the picture together. I could see that his mum was very highly narcissistic. He'd always told me that his mum had treated him like he was a dog. So if he performed, she would say, well done, that's brilliant, you're my perfect superstar son. But the minute he behaved like a child, she would just send him to his bedroom for a week. Not a week, but literally would give him the silent treatment for more than half a day. And even now, in old age, he lost his driving license when he was about 38, and it took him 5 months to tell his mum. He just couldn't tell her because he was that, I can't tell my mum I've lost my driving license. That's how much control she still had over him. So yeah, so I've picked up a few books. I don't know if anybody's interested in anything like this. Healing from Hidden Abuse was one of them. I got quite a lot from that book. It really gave me, it's a journey through the stages of recovery from psychological abuse. So it gave me a lot of insight into the different types of manipulation, and how that had worked, and how that had worked on suppressing my intuition and my belief in myself. And one that I really, there was the empathy trap is a really good one. Kind of made me understand about my boundaries, and that my empathy levels had enabled his behaviour, that that I just had no boundaries. I learned quite a lot from that.
So I'm just thinking now, empathy without boundaries equals codependency.
Absolutely. So that's where we start with the human magnet syndrome, the codependent and narcissist trap. So, and that was tough reading to begin with. A lot of it, my brain didn't want to accept. I was still in victim mode. And I think it takes a lot of real deep research and going into a real deep place of your own understanding of your own childhood. And then it started to fall into place. My role in it started to fall into place. How I was equally as dysfunctional, but just in a different way. And that it was really tough to come to terms with at first, but it's one of the ways in which I then started to really find some meaning from what had happened to me, because I discovered I'd not really known myself, and I discovered that I'd not looked into my childhood or really had the strength to look at my own vulnerability, my own weaknesses, you know, how I still felt unsafe in the world, and, you know, still, and why I'd saw a man like a narcissist, you know, I'd wanted protection, all under a cloud of being, and I'm not saying I'm not an empathic person, but the role in which I played and how I enabled it all came to light.
So that sounds like a really courageous journey to actually understand yourself more and understand your role in enabling part of that relationship to sustain for 20 years.
For so long. And there was a lot of forgiveness for myself. I realized, one, I had to forgive him, because when I then realized that actually the relationship was about joint trauma, and I had to forgive him because that's what I had to do to heal myself. But then I had to forgive myself for the fact that I just didn't know any better. I actually, at that time, I was the innocent girl. I'd stayed the naive, innocent child, because that was part of my protection. That was part of how I protected myself from the severity of the world in which I didn't feel safe. And it was a cloak I wore as self-protection that stopped me from being able to really see what was happening. And as clever and as psychologically manipulative as he was, the red flags were there. And had I had healthy boundaries and a good level of self-esteem and self-worth, and known my limitations with my empathy, I'd have never been in a relationship with somebody like this for 20 years. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've been able to offer yourself self-compassion and also to compassion to your ex-partner as well, because you didn't have that awareness, and he was like he was because of what had happened to him in childhood. You mentioned his mom and stuff, so yeah, it's I imagine a very challenging place to go to own that part of yourself. That, I suppose the phrase puella aeternus is coming to light from what Jackie was saying about the inner child a couple of weeks ago.
That's why Jackie's talk was so good, because I was like, oh my gosh, that was really I'd gone all through the codependency bit and the empathy, but the one thing I was still searching for some answers on was, why was I so naive though? Why? And the minute I attended Jackie's first week talk, I was like, there's my answer.
Ding! We've got a question, Karen, from Mandy. So, did Karen's husband ever recognise the narcissist behaviour in himself? I'm going to guess no.
Well, I would say no throughout the relationship. But afterwards, when I think it was a bit of a shock to him to really see me in as much pain as I was in. And he did kind of look at me and kind of go, oh my gosh, you were just unlucky. Those were his exact words. Oh my gosh, you were just unlucky. And he did actually send me a message that said, I definitely think I'm narcissistic. But then he backed that up by saying that he'd read Dr. Craig Malkin's Narcissism Revisited, and he thought that he was only on the healthy scale of narcissism. So I suppose the answer is no, really.
A bit of recognition, but a lot of denial as well,
yeah.
Which is perhaps typical of the narcissist. So
yeah,
I mean, I think Jackie was saying that we all have some narcissism within us, and maybe a certain amount is healthy, but when it becomes a personality disorder, we can't own it. We don't recognise it in ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's, I'd definitely like a little bit more healthy narcissism. Even now, I'm still on a journey and would like a little bit more of healthy narcissism. But yeah, when it gets to the extent that it becomes an actual deeply rooted personality disorder, the person just can't see beneath that.
Yeah, so I'm curious, Karen, if I may, to ask, what else helped you? So you talked about going inwards, really examining your part in it, doing lots of reading, keeping Amazon profits boosted. What else did you do apart from all that reading and self-discovery?
Yeah, one of the first things I did was get myself a therapist. And I have to say my therapist has played a key role in my recovery. And then I attended a week's retreat with Path Retreats called Path of Love. And that's kind of about loving yourself and healing trauma. I've heard it has been compared to the Hoffman process. I don't know whether you've heard that. The Hoffman process wasn't available at the time. And I felt like I needed some urgent help. I needed some real reinforcement. And the Path Retreats was just at the right time for me. And I found it tremendously helpful. It really spurred my healing on at a much, much faster rate. I was able to connect with other people in a group that had all suffered different levels of trauma in lots of different ways. And I think the sharing of that, and listening to different people's journeys and being able to allow myself to be vulnerable, so vulnerable in front of others, just allowed me much more insight into what this journey was all about. And I actually I've found myself on numerous occasions since this happened actually saying, thank you for my pain and suffering, because you've awakened me to who I really am. And it sounds a little ironic, but on many levels, it's really awakened me to wanting to, in the words of Socrates, know thyself. And I would say that I started doing quite a little bit of like philosophical reading, started reading some Plato, quite a lot of existential texts. I listened to every single one of Irving Yalom's audiobooks. I just could not get enough. I was like, Irving Yalom, night after night after night. And as much information as I could about psychology, psychotherapy. And then I picked up my first Carl Jung book, and I was like, oh yes. Oh yes, this is wonderful. So, and then kind of got into little bits about the archetypes, and it just all started to give me a sense almost of just some meaning and some purpose to, I really now want to understand and find who I am. And I know that is a lifelong journey. And it's a journey I want to enjoy, and it's a journey I want to see not as a destination and anywhere I've got to run to, but a journey and a process that I want to unfold in front of me and enjoy.
A longer walk on the fells without an end point.
Yeah, why not? I think I've pretty much met. I had notes and I haven't even read them.
There you go. You're speaking from the heart.
Yeah, I think it just, once you start, it starts to come. So yeah, I think I've kind of, lots of philosophy, lots and lots of psychology and psychotherapy. And Irving Yalom's books are great if anybody wants to listen to them. But down the spiritual road, I've read quite a lot of the Vedic texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the Hermetica, things like that.
Karen, really sorry, can I just stop you for 1 minute? My daughter's calling. This is terribly unprofessional, but give me 1 second. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Hello, sweetheart. Okay, thanks for letting me know. See you in a bit. Okay, love you. Bye. Sorry, had to take that in case it was an emergency.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, fine. So I think that was kind of it, really. And of course, picking up Carl Jung, it just kind of made me think about astrology again. And that was it. I got all my old astrology textbooks out and yeah, just dived in with a passion again. So really kind of into a lot of Carl Jung's work and astrology and the archetypes, and all of that has given me a lot of meaning and purpose. And I decided that I wanted to go into counselling. I particularly want to work for Lancashire women. I did have a place with them before the pandemic, and I'd just love to work with other women, and just kind of say, you know, you can find yourself, you can find your own power, you can, you know, there's a spark inside of every one of us, and we can find it.
Yeah, so very much the archetypal wounded healer, Karen, as many of us in this profession are. And yeah, it's just this feeling of coming out of the darkness, finding the light, finding yourself, and then using that light to really spark awareness in yourself and to facilitate that light in others as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really given me a real sense of meaning and purpose through it all. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, so we have a lovely comment here from Mandy. Sorry, it's covering half of your face. Sorry, I do apologise. So it's thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your journey. I've just started mine after surviving a narcissistic relationship. You are an inspiration. Yes, you are. Please let me know the references that you're reading that inspired you. So is there anything? Yeah, do you want to do that now, or do you want to type them out later on?
I mean, maybe Mandy has read some of them. I don't know if that was Louise Hay. You Can Heal Your Life. That was a really good, a good healing book. That was the reason I picked that one up is because that was about really healing me. It was nothing to do with reflecting on the psychological abuse or that type of thing. But this one was really, really good in terms of identifying why it took me so long to leave the betrayal bond. It gave me a really good understanding of trauma bonding and how trauma bonding occurs.
And who's that one by, Karen?
It's actually by Patrick J. Carnes, PhD, author of the national bestseller Out of the Shadows. So breaking free of exploitative relationships, the betrayal bond. And that was really helpful for understanding the cognitive dissonance and trauma bonding. Because I think there was a lot of, when you're trying to forgive yourself, there's a lot of questioning, why did it take me so long? Why, and why do I keep kind of going back? Or why did I keep going back? And why did I keep questioning the process? And I was really struggling to find real forgiveness for myself. I kept criticizing myself, and that gave me an understanding and say, actually, this is called trauma bonding and it's fine. And it happens to people, and you can forgive yourself.
Yeah. So it sounds like there was some guilt and maybe even some shame around yourself. Why didn't I know this earlier? But that book maybe gave you the explanation to bring compassion to yourself and that understanding of why.
There was definitely shame, embarrassment, shame, humiliation, feeling nobody could possibly understand this. How could anybody understand this? 20 years, nobody's going to believe me. And the problem is that you do come across quite a lot of that. You actually do come across a lot of people that don't believe you. They actually just think it must be you, or she's bitter at the end of the relationship, or she's bitter because he was unfaithful. And actually you're sat there thinking, oh my God, this has been a really serious level of psychological and emotional abuse, and nobody's hearing me. And that was really hard to cope with. But again, just through reading some of these books, I don't know if I will maybe post some more. The Empathy Trap by Dr. Jane McGregor and Tim McGregor. It actually says understanding antisocial personalities, but just an understanding of the empathy trap itself. That was really helpful for me. And if Mandy, if you want me to pop any notes onto the website underneath the talk, just with some titles, then just let me know.
Great, thank you.
If you want any information on the Carl Jung books I've got, The Archetypes is a great book.
Maybe just a photo of your entire bookshelf. All about £200 you spent at Amazon, that would be helpful. So yeah, Mandy's saying that's exactly how she felt around that kind of guilt. I'm presuming around why did it take me so long to realise. But yeah, lots of really good recommendations there, Karen. And I'm going to echo what Mandy said, that it's a really inspiring story. And I want to thank you for sharing so openly and again, showing your vulnerability, and also that awareness, having that self-awareness and allowing others to learn from your own learnings, and hopefully that'll inspire others and make them realise. You
will definitely find purpose, meaning, joy, everything.
Yourself.
Yourself. The happy journey of finding yourself. You will definitely, and it's nothing to be ashamed of.
That's a lovely message. Thank you. There's always hope. There's always light. Okay. So is there anything else, Karen, that you feel will be useful to cover?
No, if there's no more questions, that's fine.
Yeah. So last chance, folks, to get a question or a comment in before we say goodbye to Karen. So I'm just going to reiterate, Karen, I think that was really wonderful, very brave, and totally salute you for, first of all, going through the journey yourself and coming out of the other side and using that knowledge to understand yourself and help to heal others. And secondly, for sharing it with others, because I think it's a really valuable thing to do, to normalize, increase awareness, and hopefully inspire others as well as educating them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. So enjoy the rest of your evening, Karen, and do you want to say a little bit about what you're going to be doing on Wednesdays, or do you want to leave that for another time?
I've mentioned a few little bits about different bits of philosophy that I've been looking at, different bits of psychotherapy, but spirituality and astrology. And I was just going to share a little bit on a few of those topics and some of the ways in which some of the messages that I've been able to take from different philosophical approaches and different spiritual texts have given me a little bit more meaning. And I'll go a bit further on. I think, I'm not sure when Wednesdays start, about 2 weeks' time, I think. So
yeah.
Interested in how any of those subjects have enabled me to move on a step further, then it would be lovely to see you.
Excellent. Thank you. So I think we've got that down for Wednesday the 29th, 2 weeks on Wednesday. Really looking forward to that. So thank you very much for offering that as well.
Thank you.
And one final comment. This may be John, I'm not sure. Nothing but the deepest respect for your openness. Thank you so very, very much for sharing such a hard journey with us. Yes, it is from John. Kindest regards. Thank you, John, for that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so Karen, look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you once again for your time, your openness, and your vulnerability. Very inspiring story. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Best wishes. Bye, everyone. That's it. I'm going to stop there because my children are wanting me to give them permission to play outside, even though it's 9 o'clock. So I hope you enjoyed that and got something from it, folks. Really inspiring tale. And what day is it? Tomorrow, Tuesday, Man Tuesday. If you're a man, 6 o'clock on Zoom. Feel free to join us for some chat around lots of interesting topics, being open, being vulnerable, being real, talking about what it's like to be a man, talking about mental health issues, relationships, whatever comes up, just not football. So hopefully see you then if you're a man. And Thursday is the next live interview session. And who's it going to be with? Who's coming in on Thursday? It's Sam. Sam Ward is going to be talking about parenting with a mental health issue. You may have seen Sam a few weeks ago talking about living with bipolar disorder. Really inspiring talk then. So hopefully this one will be just as super. So we'll see you then at 8 o'clock on Thursday. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for all your interactions, and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.